Years passed, yet the emptiness never aged. He learned to hide it behind schedules, graphs, and deadlines. The world called him unstoppable, but inside he often felt motionless. Standing in the same moment when the phone had first rung with the news. Every success seemed to echo that sound. He traveled, spoke to audiences, shook hands with presidents, and smiled for cameras. But each evening he returned to quiet rooms and found himself whispering answers to questions no one else could hear. Did I make you proud, Mom? Would you still recognize me? The questions were gentle but endless, like waves erasing and rewriting footprints on sand. Sometimes he imagined her standing at the doorway of his office the way she used to, leaning slightly, waiting for him to notice. He would look up and see that smile, the one that carried both pride and warning, the smile that said, "Remember who you are." Then the vision would fade, and only the hum of machines remained. One night, years later, he found himself invited to speak to a hall full of students. They wanted to know about innovation, leadership, the secrets of success. He started with data, numbers, stories of risk, but halfway through he stopped. The crowd fell silent. He looked over their faces and saw what he once had been, young, impatient, convinced that life was a race. He folded his notes, placed them on the podium, and said quietly, "You'll hear a lot about speed, but I hope you never forget time." The room stayed still. Time, he continued, is the only thing you can't earn back. Spend it where love is. He didn't explain. He didn't have to. In that moment, every word of the letter he had never sent was alive between them. After the event he walked alone through the rain. The city lights blurred like memories behind glass. When he reached home, he opened the drawer again. The letter waited, patient as ever. The edges had yellowed, but the words were still sharp. He read them slowly, then placed the paper on his desk and began writing beside it, not to his mother this time, but to himself. It was a promise. He promised to keep the tenderness she had taught him even in a world built on competition. He promised to measure success not by numbers, but by nights when he could sleep with peace. He promised that every invention, every foundation, every act of generosity would be a sentence from her unfinished conversation with him. As he wrote, the heaviness in his chest softened. He realized grief doesn't disappear, it evolves. It becomes the silent force that shapes kindness, patience, and empathy. What he once called guilt was really love that had nowhere to go. Now he was giving it direction. The next morning, the first rays of light fell across the desk. He didn't fold the new page or hide it away. He placed it beside the old one, open. As if the two letters were finally speaking, mother and son, past and present. The air felt lighter. From that day on, he carried no copy, no photograph, just the memory of those pages. When people ask what inspired his philanthropy, he smiled but never told them the full story. How could he explain that every scholarship, every vaccine, every act of hope was, in truth, a way of saying thank you? Years continued to pass. His hair turned silver, the noise of the world grew softer. But sometimes, late at night, he still returned to that room. He would run a finger along the desk, touch the place where the letters once lay, and whisper, "I kept my promise, Mom." The house would answer with silence, the kind of silence that feels like peace. The story of the letter no one saw became the quiet heart of everything he built. To the world, it looked like ambition. To him, it was remembrance. And perhaps that is how love survives. Not in what we send, but in what we continue to do for the ones who can no longer read our words.